can let your head down. Hey, I know it's hard, to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up. Oh, and you can let your head down. Hey, hey, hey. Only rainbows after rain, the sun will always come again, and it's a circle, circling around again. It comes around again. I say only rainbows after rain, the sun will always come again, and it's a circle, circling around again. It comes around, but you gotta keep your head up. Oh, and you can let your head down. Hey, you gotta keep your head up. Oh, and you can let your head down. Hey, I know it's hard, to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up. Oh, and you can let your head down. Hey, and keep your head up, and you can let your head down, and keep your head
can't seem to think about is you. People always asking, what would Jesus do? I guess that everybody else is thinking about you too. All around the world, what they talk about is you. Would probably drive me crazy if I didn't hold your hand. Cause no matter where I go, I never, ever, ever go without you. I just couldn't do it, no, I wouldn't get through it. Trying to rock without you's like an engine with no fluid. I crash and I burn and I die without you.
The Nicole Mason Show, a show where you will be motivated, you will be inspired, and most importantly, you will be informed. And every week I say the same thing, and today is no different. You never know who you're going to meet on the Nicole Mason Show, and today is like no other. I am super excited to have one of my colleagues here and fellow Georgetown University alum from the coaching program in the person of Nancy Belmont. Let me introduce you to this awesome, phenomenal woman who's going to be sharing with us this afternoon. Nancy Belmont is the creator of the Courage Wall, a community project that catapulted in the national and international stage just a week after the project's launch. The Courage Wall has been covered by the Today Show, Al Jazeera, ABC, Forbes, and the Washington Post, sparking the conversation on courage and fear in millions around the globe. A 8x12 chalkboard that reads, "I wish I had the courage to ... you fill in the blank," invites passersby to confront the fears that hold them back from living big, authentic lives. For the past 15 years, Nancy has run Belmont Incorporated, a brand and culture building agency. As a leadership coach and organizational community builder, Nancy works with leaders to define who they are, what they stand for, and how they want to show up in the world. Nancy facilitates groups and leads workshops on branding, culture building, courage, values, and joy. I love that. She also recently launched a product line on Etsy featuring inspirational tools to help people live big. Nancy works with Fortune 500 executives, senior executive service leaders in the federal government, senior level officers in the U.S. military, and executive directors of nonprofits as a coach, creative consultant, and team facilitator. She is a graduate of Georgetown University's leadership coaching program and holds an ACC certification from the renowned International Coach Federation. Woohoo! Welcome, Nancy Belmont. Hey, Nancy.
Hey, Nicole.
Move over a little bit closer.
Okay.
So listen, I'm so super excited about having you today on the show to talk about this awesome movement that you have sparked. I mean, it has taken off in less than 2 weeks' time. And so I'm excited to be one of the first people to interview you, along with some of these big name people, and I'm a big name too. Some of these big name people, and so Matt Lara, Al Jazeera, I mean Fortune, Forbes, and ABC, all of these great people. So we have to start with we have a picture of the Courage Wall. So let's start with that so that people can see what we're talking about. And so that's just one of the statements that somebody wrote. One of the kids wrote, "I wish I had the courage not to be a bully." Wow. So let's talk about how this whole thing got started.
Yeah, so I have been working on my own courage for a long time. And I think for over a year, I've had a sign that I made in my office that said, "What will you do today that takes courage?" Mm-hmm. And, you know, after a while when you have something in your office, it blends into the background. And I didn't even notice it until after the wall went up. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I recently took this leadership assessment, and I came up lacking in my courageous authenticity. Mm. And, you know, I work with leaders all the time, and I encourage them to live big lives. Mm-hmm. I encourage them to face their fears and confront their fears and have courage. And I found that my own was lacking, and I felt like a fraud.
Wow. Well, I think that takes a tremendous amount of honesty and transparency to even, put that out there. And I think that's why it's been such a huge movement in such a short period of time, because if people see you, the coach, saying, "Hey, okay, well, I'm lacking in this, so I need to work on this to live bigger in this area," then that certainly sparks in others the courage to do something about their fear. So talk about that process and what you went through as the coach to get to this wall, because I love this. I mean, I think it's just phenomenal. And when you see all those people writing and you don't even have enough room left on the board because people are wanting to be a part of this.
Yeah, the wall fills up every day, which is great. So, and it's hard when you start erasing people's dreams. Mm-hmm. But that's part of the beauty of it. People can come up and they can jot something down. Some people really want to be anonymous about it, and they kind of sneak up, write something, and then scoot off. And other people want to share it with everyone, and they're so excited about taking the next step. But you asked what started and what got the idea to come together. So I had watched a TED Talk a long time ago. I think in 2012, Candy Chang did a big chalkboard that said, "Before I die, ... And that had kind of stuck with me for a long time. And I don't know, it was just one of those moments, where you're calm enough to listen.
I like that. Yeah.
To what you need to do. And it just all came together, and I started to send a few emails out and say, hey, can we make this happen? But then I talked myself out of it.
Wow.
I came up with all these good reasons why we shouldn't do the wall, why the timing wasn't right, why we should wait for another time. But really it was fear, right, that was holding me back. And as soon as I realized it, I said, let's push forward and get it done as soon as we can.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool. When I was reading one of your blogs, and you talked about going out in front of your office and using the chalk to write on the ground.
Yeah.
And, it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. What will people think when they're passing by and I'm out there writing on the ground?
Yeah.
And then something in you said, yeah, but I'm going to do it. And how that encouraged people. And I think one of the things that's very important today as we talk with our audience and talk with those who are listening is to really understand that when you confront the fear, then it no longer has any power. So talk about that as it relates to this project and this movement.
So, I hear a lot of people say, be fearless. I don't know that that's totally possible. I don't know that that's the right message to say to people, because what I've noticed about this project is that fear seems to be a universal human phenomenon. We all have fears, and it's completely natural.
Yes.
But what we need to do is just acknowledge the fear, talk to the fear, make friends with it, and say, you know what, you're serving a purpose, but I don't need you anymore. I'm going to just step up, and, you can sit over here, and I'm going to do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the hashtag for this movement. We live big. We live big. So talk about that. When you think about living big, overcoming your fear, and how does that translate for you as a coach, and then sharing that with your clients?
Yeah, the thing about this wall is that, first, everybody's got fear, but second, everybody's got dreams.
Yes.
And everybody has passion and love in them, and when you give them an opportunity to really think about it, it pours out. And that passion and love is kind of the only thing that's going to get you beyond the fear.
Yes.
Because those are the forces that are stronger than the fear. So when I work with my clients, we talk a lot about what their values are. We talk about what is it that just lights them up and sets them on fire. And, if they can keep that in mind, then the fears seem really small compared to that.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful. I was talking with a group of ladies last night, and that subject came up about fear. And, it's always ever present in all of our lives. And the question is, what do you do about it? And so this is one response that I love, to just write it out on the board and write it so that the universe, if no one else knows you, the universe will see you. Yep. And then begin to respond accordingly to help you conquer that fear. And so we were talking last night on the call, and one of the things that I shared with them, I did a presentation some time ago, a teaching around fear. And for me, it's just simply turn on the light. I was using my son, who's 9, in this teaching, just talking about him being afraid of the dark. And what helped with that was just to turn on the light. And I think this board is doing that, just turning the light on for people to say, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
If that person can do it, oh, okay, so I see that this person has that fear. Okay, so maybe I can do this. So this is awesome. So talk about what has happened since this board was erected.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people are noticing and becoming a lot more conscious of the fears that they have. And it's really sparking a conversation. It's sparking a conversation between husbands and wives that they need to have that they hadn't been having. It's sparking conversations between mothers and daughters, between schoolgirls, and it just really is building community and having people think more deeply. And for me, it's only been 10 days, and it has been a wild ride.
Yeah.
So I'm just starting to think now about how we can take this campaign to the next level. We've had a lot of requests for having the board move to different locations. We've had nonprofits and associations ask if it could be at conventions and different events. So we're talking to a fabricator about making more walls. We're also talking about co-branding some of the things that we have to figure out how to spread that message more widely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, one of our colleagues on the Georgetown listserv, they did it in his organization. I thought that was cool.
That's what's
Over
so
600
neat.
people.
Yeah. We have people stopping at the wall all the time saying, "Oh, my youth group did this at my church." A couple teachers stopped and said that they did it at their school. And so people are creating their own little courage walls, and they're sharing them sometimes and not sharing them on others. But what's great is that the conversation is catching on, and I think the consciousness of the fears that hold us back is rising.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And so let's talk a little bit about your company and how people can connect with you, because I know that this is a topic for so many people, just how to conquer the fear. And so you want to be a part of this movement. So I'm telling you now, you want to be a part of this movement, and I want you to go out to Mount Vernon Avenue, and I want you to see this board right in Alexandria if you are local in the DMV. For those of you around the world, you can go onto the World Wide Web and you can put in the Courage Wall. You can look at that clip from today, from the Today Show, the clip from the Al Jazeera Show, and you can see what it's all about. And perhaps maybe create your own Courage Wall to see how you can move forward. So let's talk about your company and how people can connect with you.
Yeah.
And so give them the information. I definitely want to talk about these wonderful cards. You'll have to hear about these wonderful cards. I have a set. I'm so excited about them. And so she's going to talk about those. So let's talk about that.
Sure. So this is a movement. It's becoming a movement. And so we've set up a Courage Wall Facebook page that is, you can find it at We Live Big on Facebook. You can find the movement on We Live Big at Instagram. You can tweet it with the hashtag We Live Big. And we really welcome you to join us there. We do have an Etsy store that you can link to right from the Facebook account, or just go to Facebook and search We Live Big. And you'll find a few inspirational products, like these postcards with really compelling coaching questions on them that's paired with beautiful artwork. And it's intended to be a 30-day journaling challenge because, as you know, journaling really helps you reflect and figure out what's important to you and helps you take the next step. And so we've got this product and some others that are designed to live big.
You have to read a few of those. You have to read a few of those. You have to.
So what would be true if you lived at your peak today? In what ways are you restless? What would your future self tell you to do today? That's one of my favorite coaching questions.
Yeah, that's good. That's
right?
good.
And then, this is one that we see on the wall a lot. What idea is resting inside you waiting to hatch? People have these creative ideas inside of them, and they're holding them back. And if they would just let them out, the world would be so much more creative and passionate and exciting.
And you can potentially build programs around each one of those questions alone.
Sure.
I mean, really. I love that one too. What idea inside of you is waiting to hatch? You know how many people have all kinds of things inside of them? Books and companies and, product lines, all of these things going on. And so what have you found in your coaching practice, the chief thing that really holds people back? We know it's fear, but what is the fear?
Well, I've got a couple answers to that. So first, I would say, and we talked about it a little earlier, is create that space. Our lives are not designed to listen to the spirit, right? Our lives are packed full of noise and images and all sorts of stuff all the time. And unless you can slow down enough to hear your heartbeat and to listen to your breath, there's no way that you can figure out what your calling is.
That's good.
So, find that white space in your life, create it. It's going to mean giving up some things, but once you find it, you can't give it up, and you can really hear what it is that you're supposed to do. The next thing is just understanding that you cover your fears up with stories. So layer after layer after layer. And you got to start unpeeling those stories because people come to me and they say, I don't have any choices. There's always a choice. You're making a choice to do nothing. You're making a choice to do something. So just understanding there's always a choice. And then I like to do little experiments. So I say, you know what, this doesn't have to be this big life-changing thing. Let's do an experiment for the next 2 weeks. Try this out. If you fail, it's totally okay. Experiments are designed to fail sometimes, and you learn from that. And, we do experiments, and we just talk about how it went.
Wow, that's good stuff. Yeah, and I love the part about hearing the spirit. I love that. That's powerful stuff. And I'm of the mind that every answer to our lives are already on the inside of us.
Yes.
If we will quiet down and listen to the answers that are within us. And so this is great, ladies and gentlemen. We have one of the coaches extraordinaire in the house. And so we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk more about Nancy's coaching programs and what she does in her company. We're also going to talk more about the Courage Wall and what that might mean for you. Stay tuned.
This is not the time to get distracted, and this is not the time to go off course. This is not the time to lose your focus. Got a work to do for the Lord, and you cannot afford to lose your way. You come too far from where you started. So please don't let the time you've sown be wasted on things that you'll later regret, wishing you never had. Once you realize it wasn't worth it, your destiny is too important to give up for anything. Waiting on the other side of this test is everything you've ever dreamed everything you prayed for, everything he promised you that you'd get. Waiting on the other side of temptation, waiting on the other side of this test is everything you've ever dreamed, everything you prayed for, everything he promised you that you'd get. So hold on and don't let go. Hold on, you just that close. Hold on and never give up. Hold on, say hold on and don't let go. Hold on, 'cause you're just that close. Hold on and never give up. Hold on, say hold on, say it's only a matter of time, 'cause I can see the finish line. My victory is days away, so I'ma get ready. It's been a long time coming, but I know it's coming for sure. I got a promise from the Lord. Yeah. Waiting on the other side of temptation, waiting on the other side of this test is everything you've ever dreamed, everything you prayed for, everything he promised you.
So, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We are here talking about this courage wall. And so, Nancy, I wanted to ask you about some of the most moving responses that you have read on the courage wall.
Yeah, I had to write some of them down because I've been saying the same ones over and over again, but there are so many good ones. I go down every day and I take pictures of them. So before I walked in the studio, I took a stroll through my pictures and I wrote a few down. So, one is tell my secrets and not be ashamed. Show my fiance my apartment. So I asked the guy what that was about, and he said that he was a hoarder and he had been engaged for 2 years, and he didn't have the courage to share that with his fiance yet.
Wow.
So he was going to go home and start working on it.
Wow.
One said, let her love me. One said, make a friend. A little kid's writing. Ask for help. Forgive him. And then this one actually brought me to tears. It said, confront my attacker.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, this wall is really transforming people's lives just because they have an outlet. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back from moving forward in a lot of different areas of their lives. They just don't have the outlet to get started. Right. And so that brings me to one of my other questions about what this wall has done for you personally. Because when we started today before the show, and you were like, I never thought it would just take off like this. So what has this done for you personally to see all of the responses that you have received as it relates to this project, this movement?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it has given me more courage. Right? So that's the thing about confronting your fears, is that if you confront a little fear, no matter how small it is, it gives you more courage to connect with the bigger fears. And so, for me, I wanted to call National Stadium and say, don't we need a courage day at the ballpark? And normally I would say, oh, no, I can't do that. And nobody's going to want to talk to me. And I thought, yeah, I can.
Yes, I can.
Why can't I call?
Yes, I love that.
So I just called them and I sent an email, and I thought, I don't care if I look pesty. I think that that's exactly what we need, is another national outlet for more courage.
I love that. Let me know when you have the National Courage Day at the stadium, because I'm going to come out there that day, and I want to see that. Absolutely. And so talk about some of these coaching strategies that you've been able to use with your clients as it relates to fear. I know that this is an external expression, but it had to start with yourself and then your clients, and now this external expression. So talk about some of those coaching strategies.
As a coach, this too, is we really have to listen to what our clients aren't saying as much as what they are saying. And, somebody will say, well, I can't make that decision. And then you start wondering why.
Right.
Just being really curious about, well, what would happen if you did make a decision? What would happen if you made the wrong decision? You know, and then there are, again, all these stories that pop up. Well, my whole career would go down the tubes. And you start to wonder, you know, is that really true?
Right.
You know, how long have you been in this job? How much respect do you have? What if you made a mistake? Would you forgive somebody else? Of course you would. And people are so hard on themselves. So sometimes they just need somebody to be easy on them.
Yeah. And that's what I always say. Give yourself a break. You know, stop being so hard. Give yourself a break. Are you kidding me? Revel in the small victories that you have, you know, and stop trying to get to the big victory and just revel in the little baby step that you've made and give yourself a break. And I think that's great. I think it's one of those things where you really, really have to unload all of the stuff that you have allowed to build up, not just in your mind, but in your behaviors, your actions, because it's all a part of the story that you talked about. And the one thing about a story, it can be rewritten. It can be erased and retold. And so that's the great thing that we love about this. So now that this movement has started, what are some of the things that you would like to see? What, you know, the impact of this?
There's so many, and I keep getting new ideas every day, which is great. The more I talk to people, the more people say, oh, do you have a workshop yet? I want to do a courage workshop. They say, I need a courage workbook. But what I really want to do is I want to go to a lot of different kinds of people and ask them to do some sort of creative expression contest on fear and courage. And so everybody from grade school to senior living facilities. You know, can you imagine the breadth of experience that is in those types of people? And to examine fear and courage and how it shows up for people at different levels of development and different stages in life. So that's what I would love to do, is curate a book or a series of books or even a documentary and really get down to what is fear and what is courage and what are some inspiring examples that can lift us all up.
That's really good. And so now we have to talk about Georgetown, because that's the thing that connects us. And so talk about how that training has helped you to get to this point.
Well, you know, I've worked with a coach for a number of years before I went to Georgetown. But there's something about understanding how human beings work. I remember there was a point in the coaching program where I felt like I was in The Matrix. Do you remember the movie The Matrix, where they peel something back and all of a sudden you see all the code running down? And I started to see that's how human beings are built. That's why I behave like that. And, you know, to have that insight into human behavior and human psychology is amazing, right? Because then you can really start to help people and help yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, there was, I was reading, I don't know if you know Ram Dass, but I was reading some of his work, and he said, I work on myself so that I can work on others.
Absolutely.
And I work on others so that I can work on myself.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the more I work on myself, the better a coach I can be.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And, you know, I always tell people, you know, because I am a preacher, I always say that, you know, the word is for the preacher first if the preacher is honest. And so it's a similar kind of thought process as it relates to the coaching as well, that you always have to be in a space to learn. You know, once you get to a space where you no longer are learning, you might as well kind of hang it up. But you should always be learning so that you can teach. Learn, teach. Learn, teach. It's always going that back and forth kind of, you know, relationship with the person that you're engaged with. I love that, because I think, you know, coaching has now taken on a whole life force of its own. You have many people calling themselves coaches, but have not gone through any training, which I think is a disservice, because there is some workings behind the scene that you really need to get, and that's one of the reasons that I did attend the program. You know, I, like you, I had coaches before. They weren't called coaches, but, you know, coach nonetheless. But really wanted to understand this whole profession that is called coaching. And so let's talk about some of the programs that you have that you work with your clients, not just around fear, but just your business now.
Sure. So, we started out 15 years ago as a branding company. But what I love to do is culture building. And so I work with organizations and we take a look at their culture and what is the storyline that they're living as a group of people and how is that being expressed through their behaviors and through, their value sets. And what is the way of doing things that isn't written in the manuals, right? So starting to uncover rules. That and unpack that. And then, so we'll do some coaching. Sometimes we'll do some team and peer coaching. Sometimes we'll do communications campaigns because that is my background. It's the thing about the coaching that I really enjoy is that it helps you be a better facilitator. It helps you be a better brander because you have to be curious all the time to really help people express what's going on. And if they can define it, then they can start to attack it.
And so we talked a little bit earlier that you're moving a little bit more over to community building. So let's talk about that because I love that concept.
So just in the past few weeks, actually, I went on a retreat a few weeks ago just to have that white space for myself. And I started to really understand that us women, the way we build our success is through building community, right? And so I thought maybe instead of culture building in organizations, I need to talk about community building in organizations. And that just feels really right to me. Imagine if you go into work and you go into a community, there's going to be so much more trust, so much more grace given, right? And so that's a part of the shift that I'm making now, and especially with this wall, seeing the power of community and people coming together, just trying to take that language into organizations and have them think about culture a little bit differently.
Definitely gonna have to do a whole lot of socializing of this concept, particularly when you start talking about bringing something new into organizations. I personally work in an organization that's male dominated, so you have that going on. It's not a whole lot of diversity, so you have that going on. And so you have all these moving parts that you have to look at. But that's one of the things that I do like about this whole concept of coaching, because you have organizations that now are open to having someone come in, an outsider, if you will, to look at things, to say, hey, I think that you all could benefit from this, or you could benefit from that. And that's the power of the profession and how it's gaining momentum. And so, coupled with, the leadership circle and all these other assessments, people are really being transformed in the workplace, which is not something that has happened, in a normal cycle or a normal environment. This is something new. So what do you think about this whole new wave of coaching, particularly as it relates to some of these organizations that are, as I have described?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of hope in some leaders in the field. So Capital One has an incredible coaching program, and they have for years. PricewaterhouseCoopers just launched an internal coaching program. And so I think when some businesses start to see the leaders value coaching and what it can bring to the organization, I think you're going to see it be more prevalent and more accepted. With this Leadership 360 assessment, I have to say, I've never taken a 360 because I was terrified of the feedback. And the coaching program actually helped me grow enough so that I could have feedback like that. And it really was the feedback and that negative feedback that made me be such a bigger person, right? And so, I think that maybe my personal story can help leaders say, okay, well, I think I'm doing pretty well, but what if there was one thing I could work on? And what could that be? And how could I be an even better leader?
Yeah, and that's important because, we spend so much time at work, and you want to go to work and you want to, not have a good time, but you don't want it to be hostile. And so I find that, leaders have to be open to the coaching. They have to be open to the feedback. At work, I am the president of a group of women who are a part of Federally Employed Women. It's a larger national organization. And so I send out daily quotes. And so one of the quotes this morning that I sent out was from Hillary Clinton. And she said, take criticism seriously, but not personally. And so that's something that's very important when you start doing the 360s, because I remember when we had a coach at our job, and we started getting the feedback from the 360s and the assessments, and people were just, you need a whole session just to deal with the feedback and how to deal with the feedback.
Yes. But I think the tip is to be curious. So to say, okay, that's wrong, I'm not like that, and then you just stop yourself and say, well, let me just be curious about that for a little bit. I wonder what it was that made people respond like that. I wonder what it was that made me respond like that, because a 360, one of the greatest things is that you have a self-evaluation, right? And so it allows you to see yourself through an entirely different lens. So I think that that focus in on being really curious is the key to accepting the feedback.
Yeah, I think it's great. But I can tell you this, once you get beyond that, that moment of, and you really take it in, you really can grow and develop. And guess what? Become a better leader. And I think this is what this whole Courage Wall, for me, looking at it, as soon as I saw it on our listserv, I'm like, oh, I love this concept. I've got to have Nancy on the show, because I think it's so powerful to be transparent in your work. And I believe that that's why this movement has taken on the life force that it has taken on. I watched you on the Today Show, and you're like, yeah, hey, this thing started from my own assessment, and I was lacking or scored low in coaching and authenticity, so I felt like a fraud. I'm like, what? I love Nancy. Yes. Because you wanna connect with other women who are authentic, so that you can be your best self.
Right.
I can't be my best self if you're not being authentically you.
Right.
And so I thought that was great, and I think it's powerful what you're doing. I think it's powerful that you're using yourself as the example of how we got here. So let's talk about what are you going to do when you leave here? It's so powerful. What you going to do?
When I leave here today, I'm going to go home to my 3 kids who may be watching right now. So hi, Max, Ben, and Taz. But I'm really trying to figure out if there's a way that I can do this for a living. Because as much as I love branding and I love culture building, this movement, I think, is important. And the responses I'm getting from people, it's resonating with people on such a deep level that I feel like I have a responsibility to them to keep the movement going. And so that's what I need to figure out. How can I keep the momentum behind this thing? How can we reach more and more people? How can we touch them even more deeply so that they are living those bigger, bolder, more authentic lives?
That's awesome. Well, time always seems to go by so quickly when you're having fun. And this is one of those times. Every time we have the Nicole Mason Show, it starts to do that. I start asking questions and start talking, and we start engaging, and the time just goes by quickly. I want to encourage you to connect with Nancy. This is a powerful movement. Hashtag We Live Big. Don't you want to live big? Don't you want to get past those fears and do what's really in your heart to do? What about writing that book? What about starting that business if that's something that's in your heart? What about starting that school? What about going back to school? And so you have so many people who are saying, yeah, that's me. So tell them again how they can connect with you, Nancy.
All right, so go on our Facebook page at We Live Big. Join us on Instagram at We Live Big. Tweet us and hashtag us on Twitter with the hashtag We Live Big. Go to our Etsy store to find products. So go to Etsy.com and then search for the We Live Big store. And, reach out and let us know how we can help you live into those big dreams of yours.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, so listen, we have a couple of announcements. Let me just say a great big thank you,
Thank you.
for coming to share with me today. This has been awesome, and I wish you much, much success. I know that this movement is going to do exactly what it has done, take on its own life force. You're going to have to catch up, Nancy. You're going to have to keep up. So make sure you're exercising, eating right, getting some rest, because you're going to have to keep up with this movement, because people are saying, yes, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. So I'm coming out there. I'm going to write something.
What are you going to write?
You know what? I was thinking about that, and I said, I know she's probably going to ask me. I was thinking about that, and I said, you know what? I really need to give this some thought. If I had the courage, what would I do? And one of the things that did pop into my mind was perhaps I would move to another country.
Okay.
I would just go, just say bye. I think that's one of the things that I would do. I wouldn't just go visit. I would just go and move to another country. I've always admired people who could just pick up and move, whether it was to go to college or, move to another state. I've always admired people because it takes so much courage.
Yeah,
And those were the
yeah.
words I've used to people that I know. My prayer partner in particular, she moved from Boston. She went to Virginia, University of Virginia, UVA, for law school, and came to D.C., and she's been here. And I think it takes courage to live in a place where you don't have family and you don't have the quote support until
Right.
you meet people. And I always, when we talk and she's like, oh, I'm going home, I'm like, I thought it's just so courageous to be able to do that. So I would just take it one step
Okay,
further.
all right.
I would just move to another country. Just be gone. Let me go live somewhere. I don't know where. I have to think of that.
Well, I want you to think about what is the next step. So for
Okay.
all of you out there who are thinking
Yes.
these courageous thoughts right now, what is the next step, the tiniest next step that you can take to move toward that declaration?
Yeah, that's good stuff. I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it some more, and I'm going to come out there and I'm going to write something. I'm
Okay.
going to put mine on the wall, and I'm going to think about it, and I want you all to think about it. If I had the courage, I wish I had the courage to do X, Y, and Z. And I had to think about it because my spirit is so bold and so bodacious, just
No.
naturally.
You?
Just naturally. So I had to think about it. I'm going to think about it.
Okay.
I'm coming out there and see the wall.
All right.
Okay, listen, you all. What if you had the courage? What would you do? I want you to think about that, and I want you to go on to connect with Nancy, and I want you to write it and leave it on the Facebook, Instagram. We live big, absolutely, and this is the year of big. Actually, at my church, that's our mantra for the year.
Great.
Our motto: we live big. This is the year of big, and so we just see big coming from all different ways around us. So thank you all for joining us today. We have a few announcements that I want to share with you. In a couple of weeks, I will be at a prayer breakfast, high heels and lipstick. I will be sharing. I think we have that flyer, so we want to put that up, high heels and lipstick with Dr. Michelle Stevens. She's going to be our guest next week, so I'll be sharing with her next week. And then I want to encourage you to go to the Black and Missing Foundation. We have that flyer. They are doing their annual run to raise money. And Elise Neal is going to be there. And we had one of the co-founders with us, Derica Wilson, back in December talking about the great work that they're doing, looking for missing people of color. And so this is a great work. I want you all to support that. The registration to join the walk ends this Friday. Next week. Next week. And I want you all to join the movement here as well. So with that, I want to say thank you all for joining us today, and thank my very special guest, Nancy Belmont, the creative visionary of the Courage Wall. And join us again next week, same time, same place, for the Nicole Mason Show. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
This is not the time to get distracted. And This is not the time to go off course. This is not the time to lose your focus. Got a work to do for the Lord, and you cannot afford to lose your way. You come too far